to say about Cal. I got a lot I could say, but Joyce is here. Cal and I do a lot of traveling. Every time we go out, the only thing he wants to look for is a donut shop. Let's look for a donut shop. I don't know what he did about that donut shop, but I had never found one that I wanted to go to. You want to tell us about the donut shop?
Well, there's this donut shop down in Fort Lauderdale that Dale Watson and I visited.
Dale Watson tells me that he had 5 cups of coffee. He said every time that coffee gets ready, he was waiting for this girl over there to fill that thing up again. He don't know why he's calling back over.
And they were $5 a cup.
What size cups were they?
For y'all that don't know, it's a topless donut shop. He never did find one of them for me, though. I haven't been to one yet. But we've had a lot of fun with Cal. Cal's been a good man to work with. I've enjoyed him a bunch. I like to give him a hard time, but I really can't think of much dirt to say on Cal. But it's been a joy working with you, Cal.
Thank you, Ambrose.
Well, Ambrose, you know, tries to be nice and all, but there's another guy in here that works in the molding department that knows a little bit more about Calvin, and he's seen another side of him. And so, Jerry, come on up here, tell us what Calvin's really like, okay? Give us the facts, Jerry.
Well, I can't lie. Calvin, it's been a while working with you. I know I bought a Jeep in '73, and right after that, you came to work. Well, my Jeep is wore out.
That's the one you were trying to sell me yesterday. That's the one you were trying to sell me yesterday, right?
One other thing I'd like to clarify too, Calvin has been over molding for the last, what, 20 years, Calvin?
16.
About 16, yeah, 16. And all the smell that you smell sometimes out of molding is not really by my or Ambrose's doing. I'll clarify that. But they told me to ask me if I would come up and say something nice about Calvin, and I said, nice. I said, I didn't want anything nice on it. But, Calvin has made my work and everybody else's work probably much easier than we could imagine with the things that he's told us and helped us with, and molding and tooling. And Calvin, we appreciate it. We hate to see you go, but when it comes our time, we want to go too. We know that you're not a quitter or a person that sits down. We know that your wife and your ambition will find plan for you to do at home. We do have a little token here that we'd like to give you, something sort of to remind you of molding and all the things that you put on us. Can you try this tool out? Ambrose, I need this tool tried out. But here's a cap that we've autographed from the molding department. We put a few things on it to remind Calvin of mistakes we've made. Some of the things we've had problems with. I did ask Calvin to do one thing for me before he left. And just like always, he failed to do it. Calvin, here's what that was. A certain tune to a certain place. Right?
Right.
I wish you the best, Calvin. We know where you live, and you know where we live.
Thank you, Jerry.
You know, I'm so glad he talked about those wonderful smells that come up from your shoes. Because being on the mezzanine as we are, you know how warm air rises, and with warm air comes the smells from the warm air. And we up in engineering are really privileged to just department folks, we love it, we really love it. We've got some other folks here that want to share with you. Jerry mentioned tooling and the things that Calvin has done to help with tooling. We have one of our prestigious, astute-looking toolmakers with us tonight, who is just bowing everyone over with this elegance of appearance. And he would like to come and say a few words to us. Mr. Stevenson, please.
Is that who that is?
Thank you, Nora, and we'll run you for vice president next year. So, Calvin, all the guys in the tool room wish that they could really be here tonight, but they're trying to help Eddie out. He's trying to disciple all these prints and these gates, and our Center D gate, and we've about got out of the process now, out of die casting, but other than that, Dale Watson's been giving us a little problem back there in E50. He's been saying that Calvin's got his drawings up, but he made me promise to bring these back because he said there's not another copy of these. Calvin's good, he said. We got our 6P on this and the head and all this good stuff. So Eddie's got his job cut out to fill your shoes. This right here is living proof that Calvin does not waste time working. We are sorry in an aspect to see you go. We're going to really miss you. But we think that Mrs. McCall's going to really appreciate you. And I think she can probably draw as good a blueprints as you can. And from all of us from the heart, we're really going to miss you.
Thank you, Jerry.
All right.
You know, Cal, somebody said something, Jerry said about being worn out. And that brought to mind a story that I heard about an older man, not that you're old, but an older man, and he was in a strange town one night and decided he wanted a little evening's entertainment, and so he went to a house of prostitution. And when he went into the house, he told the madam, he said, I'd like a little female companionship for the evening. And the madam looked at him and she said, how old are you anyhow? And he says, I'm 93. And she says, man, you've had it. He says, oh, have I? How much do I owe you? You know why she said you had it. Our WLOS cameraman in disguise over here tonight has a few words of wisdom he'd like to share with all of the people.
Well, Calvin and I have worked together on this last project, good, bad, or indifferent. We'll remember it as 6P. I like to think of Calvin like a rubber band for this one incident that I remember. A rubber band, you can stretch it and it always returns to its natural shape. Calvin's the same way. I remember one time he took a whole week off and went to play golf. Correction, to learn to play golf. All this money, all this time, it's a good use. Remember?
Yeah.
Came right back, just like the rubber band went and did the same old stuff. I'm going to miss Calvin because I had a real good time working with him. One of the rare few people that I can understand. Of course, he was talking in Italian. But I am going to miss him, and I think in the future we'll see each other. He can't leave us. He's like an old penny, he keeps turning back at it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You know, I'm not sure exactly how you should take this, Don. You know, Calvin's talked about retiring for a couple of years. But it was only after the big move that he really decided to do it, you know. And so I'm not sure if there's any connection there or not. You know, just because he's going to have a birthday tomorrow, that doesn't really mean anything, you know. But, you know, Calvin Don has been very concerned about losing him. He's really been worried. And like a couple people have said, you know, with Eddie coming on and trying to learn things and all, we realize that it's going to be hard and it's going to take a while for things to fall into place. And so, just so we don't lose contact with you altogether, we have a specially engraved invitation to you, inviting you cordially to attend all our project review meetings for the balance of this year. And as your boss says, our joy will be more complete by your presence in these meetings. But if you are unable to attend, please keep us in your thoughts, and I think we better add your prayers too. So please mark those dates down on your calendar and keep them open, because we know that you want to come back and take part in these meetings and share with us your knowledge. I also know that you'd like to share some of the good times that you've had in travel while you worked for Eden. And, you know, Ambrose has traveled with you, and Tom has done some traveling with you, but also Linda Faust has done some traveling with you. And to our vendors. And Linda would like to come tell us a few little gems of Calvin on a trip.
That was a weak laugh.
I'm disappointed, Calvin. I saw a different side, I'm afraid. I guess the first few times I traveled, I had not been flying very often, and the first trips I made, I guess, was with Calvin. And we had to go to Raleigh, and I was kind of concerned because I really didn't like small planes. And for those of you who've traveled with Calvin, most of you know that he can sleep just like this on the plane. He's the only person I've ever seen that before they take off, he's asleep, they serve him his breakfast, and then he wakes up and eats that, and he's back to sleep just like that. And we were flying out of Raleigh one time, and there was this young guy came on the plane, and I said, Calvin, I don't like this because I don't like for the pilot to carry the luggage on and stuff. It kind of makes me feel uneasy. And the guy looked real young. I said, he looks young. And Calvin said, yep, he looks real young. And then we looked at him a few minutes, and he went up in front of the plane, and I was sitting there watching him, and he had a big manual he was lugging in. And I looked over at Calvin, he was sound asleep, and I looked at that man, and he kept looking at the manual, and he'd do something, he'd look at the manual, and I poked Calvin, I said, Calvin, wake up. I said, I don't think this man knows how to fly the plane. He's having to look it up as he goes. And Calvin said, oh, we'll be all right, back to sleep again, you know. And we did make it. We made it safely. And Calvin slept the whole trip, not a worry in his mind, until we bounced into Asheville. About 3 bounces, and Calvin woke up and said, he lands like a cowboy, too, doesn't he? And I've had some different experiences with Calvin. I guess we went through the industrialization of programmable controllers, and we had some real thrills. Not as we have done the tubular, we didn't have a whole team. It's sort of like all of Milwaukee, and then Calvin bringing it to me. And we were going back and forth and everything. And most of you engineers tell me, and I don't know, Tom might be able to tell me that, you know, Tom doesn't like marked prints. Well, I've always been of the opinion that engineers don't like to sign their name on the print in case something comes back wrong. But Calvin never has had that problem, I've got to say, before I sit down. When we were working on that programmable controller, we started with a quote with a vendor on an extrusion. And so the vendor, we had worked, and we'd change this, and we'd send another print, we'd change that, and we'd send another print. So we were ready to go into production, and the man called up, and he said, Mrs. Bouts, I need your help. He said, I don't know which one of these prints to use. I've got 12 of them. Calvin comes downstairs, and Calvin looks over, and he says, no problem. I've revised all of them. We got a new one to mail. So we finally ended up producing it, but I have had a very rewarding experience, and I have learned a great deal from Calvin. And if the marks of a great man is how he helps and how he trains and teaches people and works with those people, I've got to say that Calvin's one of the finest that I've ever worked with, because I've never asked him a question that he felt like it was stupid or that he didn't take the time to answer. And all the vendors that we have, and Calvin works with nearly every vendor that I have, I can't tell you the respect that Calvin has with them, and I think both purchasing and all of our vendors are going to miss him greatly. But we want to wish you congratulations, Calvin.
Thank you.
And Joyce, I'll tell you,
Speaking of changes and things that have gone through a lot of transition, shall we say, from original concept to where it is at the moment, I think Bob has a little presentation he'd like to make to you, Calvin.
I heard an awful lot of words back to you tonight, Calvin, about senior, CAD, so I concur, all of them are. I can't imagine how you held out long enough to be a senior manufacturing engineer. Ralph and David and myself, we got together, we were kind of thinking that this 6P project, I remember seeing you walking around many times, nodding your head and shaking your head saying 6P, 6P, 6P. And I remember Dale a couple times saying, yeah, Cal's occasionally stopped back in here and asked about what the 6P was. So casually, you've been back in the U50 area apparently. We started looking around and trying to figure out just what it was you were doing. And we picked up a couple of times on what Tom wanted with the 6P, kept saying something about a brick, and it's got to be watertight. He wants a brick on the road, it's got to be watertight. And we didn't see anything coming forth from you, and you had that glazed over look like you did. I also remember Linda saying something about you going to sleep like that. You want to break two people. I've never seen him do it with his eyes open. But Ralph and David and I got together and we said, listen, we've got to help Calvin. At least when he goes out, he'll understand what the 6P is and, have a good idea of where it stands at this particular time. So we started looking around for drawings, all of us knowing how Tom explains things, we knew that you probably weren't comprehending it. You just wasn't picking up the real thought that was coming through. So, because we misunderstood that way occasionally ourselves. So we got together with some of the drawings left behind, like drilled down, we took them up to Herb and asked Herb and Cleve, said, well, can we make anything out of this? And they kind of pondered around a while and looked at it and said, well, I'll tell you what, let's see if we can't get Dee to draw a picture. So we'll stick all this stuff together and we'll draw some pictures. So that'd be real good because, we want to build at least one of these units so we can show Calvin see them. So we all got together and it took a little while to come up with it. So Petey drew a picture, a picture's worth 1,000 words. And then we went down to the tool room and we had the tool room go ahead and make us up one of these things. And it's not bad. And it's not waterproof. But if it does get wet, you don't have to worry about the water because it'll come back out of it. It's got plenty of holes in it. This actually is what don't worry about it. The water will come out. Everybody, it's been fun. I don't like it to be a singing.